There's a reason the most powerful institutions on Earth pretend that Bitcoin is irrelevant. Now, not because it's a scam, not because it's too volatile, but because it quietly exposes the game that they've been running on you for decades. Now, you live in a story that was never yours. Every paycheck, every mortgage, every headline, it's all written by people who profit from your obedience. And the scariest part, well, you thought it was normal. But here's the truth they can't afford you to see. Now, Bitcoin isn't just money, it's the mirror that makes the old system look weak. And the moment enough people look into it, the illusion collapses. Now, I just quickly want to chuck this in here. This is a course of mine, and it's completely free to sign up. Now, if you want to check this out, I'll link it down in the description below, and it's called Sovereign by Design. See, the media tells you that Bitcoin is risky. Banks call it dangerous. Politicians say it's for criminals. But ask yourself, who benefits from you believing that? Because while they warn you not to touch it, they're quietly building infrastructure behind closed doors. Now, while headlines scream bubble, BlackRock files Bitcoin ETFs. While governments threaten regulation, they're already buying mining rigs, writing tax codes, and positioning themselves to extract value when the time comes. Now, this isn't about protecting you, it's about protecting their monopoly on money. See, here's the part they'll never say out loud. If Bitcoin works, they lose control. They lose the ability to inflate your savings away. They lose the ability to freeze your accounts when you step out of line. And they lose the ability to dictate who gets rich and who stays stuck. See, Bitcoin removes the middlemen. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't play favourites. And it doesn't bend to policy, parties, or politics. Now, it's money governed by math and not men. Now, I really love that, so I'm going to say that again. It's money governed by math and not men. And that single shift threatens the architecture of civilization as we know it. So let's go ahead and break it down. The financial system we live in runs on one thing. And that one thing, well, that's trust. Trust that the government won't debase the currency too fast. Trust that banks won't gamble away your deposits. And trust that central banks will manage the economy responsibly. But look at the record. 2008, banks destroyed trillions in wealth. 2020, governments printed more money in 12 months than in the previous century. And 2023 onward, inflation quietly erodes your paycheck while they tell you the economy is strong. Now, that's not trust, that's abuse. But Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin flips this. It replaces trust with truth. 21 million supply, transparent, immutable, borderless, no CEO, no bailout button, and no fine print. And that's exactly why they hate it. Because once you see the money can run on physics instead of politics, well, you stop believing in their excuses. So think about gold. For thousands of years, kings and emperors hated it in the hands of people. Now, why was this? Well, because gold was outside of their control. So they taxed it, confiscated it, and replaced it with paper. Paper that they could print, paper they could manipulate, and paper that always made them richer and you poorer. But fast forward to today. Bitcoin is digital gold, except now they can't seize it with soldiers. They can't dilute it with ink, and they can't hide the truth with a press release. Now, this terrifies them, because for the first time in history, the people have a form of wealth that rulers can't rig. See, this is bigger than finance. It's about identity, because when you hold Bitcoin, you're not just holding an asset, you're holding proof that you can live outside their illusion. Proof that value can exist without permission, and proof that freedom can be measured in math and not paper. And once that clicks, Well, you can't go back to being a good citizen of fiat. You can't unsee how every raise is stolen by inflation, how every savings account is a coffin with a login screen, and how every headline is designed to keep you docile, not sovereign. Now, Bitcoin isn't just wealth protection, it's psychological liberation. So, let's go ahead and cut through the noise. They say Bitcoin is too small, but what they don't say is that adoption curves always look small until they don't. Now, the internet had 16 million users in 1995. It has 5 billion today. Now, Bitcoin has fewer than 200 million real users worldwide, and yet entire governments are stacking. Wall Street is salivating over ETFs, and corporations are rewriting their treasuries around it. Now, it's not about size, it's about inevitability. They say Bitcoin uses too much energy, but they won't tell you that the banking system uses 20 times more in servers, branches, and armies to defend it. They won't tell you Bitcoin uses wasted energy, stranded gas, and renewables that nobody else can monetize. They won't tell you it's the most efficient settlement system ever created, because if you know the truth, their narrative would collapse. See, I'll never forget the moment that I moved some Bitcoin off an exchange. No middlemen, no banker, no approval screen, and for the first time in my life, I held value that nobody else could touch. And that's when it hit me. This isn't about price charts, this is about control. And for the first time, I wasn't begging in a system to protect me. I was protecting myself. Now, that one small transfer taught me more about money than 20 years of financial education. And here's the deeper truth. Bitcoin doesn't need you to believe in it. It just keeps producing blocks. It doesn't care about your feelings, your politics, and your fears. And every 10 minutes, it adds another brick to a wall of truth that can't be erased. Every halving, it gets scarcer. Every adoption cycle, it gets stronger. So the real question isn't, will Bitcoin succeed? The real question is, will you be awake before the crowd? Or will you wait until institutions that mocked it are the ones renting it back to you at 100 times the price? So when you hear Bitcoin is too volatile, Bitcoin is dead, or Bitcoin is a bubble, translate it correctly, because they're telling you, please don't figure this out before we do. Because the second you see through the noise, you stop being their customer. You stop being their exit liquidity, and you start being a sovereign. So the truth is pretty simple. They don't want you to know this about Bitcoin, because if you did, you'd stop playing their game. So that leaves the only real question which is left, and that is, when the next cycle comes and the world wakes up too late, will you be the one explaining what's happening, or the one asking why nobody told you this sooner? Because I'm telling you now, they already know. But the question is, do you? Now, one last time, I'm just going to chuck this in here again, and this is Sovereign by Design, and it's completely free to come and sign up. Now, again, what I'll do is link this down in the description below. Now, if you've made it this far, and if you're not too sure what to watch next, well, I have this playlist just here, which you can go ahead and binge watch if you enjoy watching my content, or if you just want a shorter little video, you can watch one of mine just here, which is recommended to you by YouTube.